There's a brand new Dragon Ball movie, and it's all about that guy Broly. Oh. And this is my review of it. I hope you like this new Kirblog, 'cause I did it while I'm not feeling that great. I just flew back in from Texas, and boy, is my everything tired. No joke. I've been in Dallas, Texas this past week, directing a video game, actually, at Okratron 5000, where the fine people who work on the Dragon Ball Z English dub, all of the Dragon Ball stuff in the last several years, work at, funnily enough. And while I was in town, I was graciously invited by the folks at FUNimation to go to the Dallas premiere of Dragon Ball Super Broly, the newest film in the series. I'm going to keep this review relatively spoiler-free. I mean, there's not much, if you've been following the movie, there's not much left to spoil, but I will keep anything that isn't out there already in terms of, plot points or any little fun surprises and things. I'll keep those as under wraps as I can. I missed out on the LA premiere at the Chinese theater, I think, or the Egyptian theater, one of the two. I was able to see this, and I'm going to be seeing it again next week. But overall, just to start off with, I really, truly enjoyed this. You guys know I've had some dissatisfaction with some of the stuff that's happened in the story of Super. I share many of the same opinions about the character of Broly and kind of everything that surrounds him. However, I was thoroughly impressed. I mean, I was going into this movie with some, decent expectations because of the pedigree of the people involved with the animation and everything, and just Toriyama's involvement. Not that always necessarily means every good thing possibly, but overall, I was expecting good things of this, and I was absolutely not let down. To start off with, just as kind of a general thing, the movie is extremely straightforward. It's not very complicated, and not that Dragon Ball movies tend to be very complicated, but it's also not it's not formulaic, I guess, in that sense. It's not, the typical. It's not like how I think I compared Resurrection F as sort of like, if Toriyama wrote one of the old DBZ movies where it's just a villain shows up with a bunch of his henchmen, the gang shows up, they fight them, Goku wins, the end. This one is it's definitely a different kind of setup comparatively, but it kind of flows in a straight line. As I'm sure you guys have all seen from the trailers that have been coming out, there's some precursor stuff, sort of adapting bits of Dragon Ball Minus, which is a little bonus chapter that was added at the end of the Jocko the Galactic Patrolman manga from a few years back. And definitely adapts a good majority of that, not everything, but a bunch of it, and adds a bunch more regarding the kind of the handing of the torch from what was previously the Cold Force into the Frieza Force, as King Cold officially retires and sort of gives things up to Frieza as he sort of takes over the planet Vegeta. We see kind of the reversioned, I guess, Toriyama's envisionment for what the Saiyan planet's lifestyle under Frieza's rule was like, prior to the beginning of the series and everything. And having all the Dragon Ball Minus stuff with Bardock and Goku's mom, Gine, and little baby Goku all in there. And as well as some other things regarding, of course, King Vegeta and, involving Vegeta in this, as well as Broly and Paragus and kind of their reformed, still akin to how it was backstory, but certainly a better version and more interesting, more fleshed out, certainly. It's not one-to-one, but there's definitely enough, key points kind of taken from the gist of what was their origin story in the original Broly movie, Dragon Ball Z movie 8. But yeah, definitely not something that would elicit the joking Vegeta response that I'm sure you all would think of first and foremost. But nonetheless, Yeah, it's the whole precursor stuff was executed extremely well. I actually would have loved to see even more of it, but it also wasn't too short. There was more than enough to satiate. Like I wanted to see a lot of how that part of the world was like. It very nicely expanded upon the lore of everything, and showed a lot of like kind of how it was and how interesting and cool it was to see all these characters kind of in that era of the whole, timeline of the series and everything. It was really cool to see that and very well done. So after that, the setup kind of happens, which I'll leave, some of the details of that vague. But, again, as you could probably expect, the pieces are in place to eventually set up what becomes the third half of the film, which is the big fight scene of, the gang versus Broly. Or specifically, it's Goku and Vegeta versus Broly. And ultimately that, other character that was just kind of showcased and people were like, oh, well, okay, I guess he's in there. But, so not that you don't know already, but I'll leave that vague. The fight scene, the big fight scene of this film, which is literally the entire third half of the movie. It is, I won't even say for better or worse. I'll just say it is the epitome of a Dragon Ball Z fight scene. Like I said before, going into knowing the kind of pedigree of all the animation staff that was involved, that Anime AJ, I'm sure, has gone over in massive detail as to who all these folks are. I was expecting really impressive looking stuff. I was still even blown away. All of the 2D stuff. I remember. I'll share that part later. There's something funny that somebody said about this, but the 2D stuff is masterful. It is absolutely incredible to look at. The choreography is the most impressive I think I've seen of any. Even like the big highlight for me of Resurrection F2 was like how cool that fight scene was, but and I love the choreography and all the cleverness and cool stuff they did with that. But just the raw that you truly feel the raw power of this. It is really good that this is apparently the first anime movie to be in IMAX. If you can go see it in IMAX, please do, for the love of Christ Almighty, because if there's any anime movie to see in IMAX, it's this one, just because of you feel the hits, like all, and then the blast and the screaming, like you really feel the force of it as if like you're in the middle of it. It was ridiculous. The animation and the choreography actually was so good that some people have pieced together from the look of some of the trailers, and of course this has been the case for the last two movies. Yes, there is some CG stuff in this one. It is the best that it's looked compared to Battle of Gods or Resurrection F, and because of just how it's utilized, and again the choreography of how the fight goes, and also the sequences that uses the CG are very short. The majority of it is that very, very gorgeous looking 2D animation. That there's there was a guy I saw a lot of friends while I was over visiting over the week, and there was one guy in particular who I remember. He said that some of the 2D stuff, and I totally got what he meant. It's like hate sketches, like anger sketches of just like some of the line art during the fight scenes and some of the really intense moments. It's just like, it's so rigid. It's actually kind of like not. I know that's going to be a lame comparison because it's me and I'm biased, but reminds me a little bit of how some of the Mob Psycho, like crazy psychic, like weird psychedelic stuff happens in some of those episodes. Hope you're all watching season 2, by the way. But also, and this is as vague as I'll be about the whole sort of scope and length of the fight scene itself. I won't get into the finer details, but the same guy described it's like. The whole thing is like it keeps ascending in level, like higher and higher and higher, and the stakes get higher, and the force and the power just of everything going on gets bigger and badder and crazier, and then like it's as if I'm a straight edge guy, but I got what they meant by this. They described it as like taking acid and then like partway through everything, like suddenly like you're feeling the effects of it and you start tripping. It's like, what's happening? Oh god, where do we go? Because there's some crazy shit that happens during this fight scene. I do not condone any use of illegal substances while watching this movie. Please don't take that the wrong way. It was a weird description, but anyway. So I could go on and on about the animation. The music was actually pretty solid too. In fact, I would actually go so far to say this was probably, I don't have the same kind of like I don't want to say hate boner, but like I don't have the same like full distaste for Sumitomo's work. You know, he's not one of the best composers that's been on Dragon Ball, certainly, but I think that the stuff he did for this movie is undoubtedly his best work. Some really good tracks, good use of motifs, like Broly's theme, which you hear in the trailer as well. The da 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 is kind of used throughout for different points, and there's also a really funny kind of vocal song in there that's kind of become already a little bit meme worthy from what I understand. You'll have to hear it for yourself to believe it. It's pretty it's cool. It's just very funny. Of course, the other good song in there is the Blizzard by Daichi Miura, I believe. I've had that song like stuck in my head the last like several months, kind of leading up to the movie anyway. And I actually didn't get the chance to see the full credits. There's some, again, not really a spoiler, but there's like some cool animation used for the credit sequence as well. And I didn't get the chance to sit down and kind of like watch through all of that. So I'll pay more attention to that during the second viewing next week when it comes out everywhere. I guess on some other general notes, all of the new characters were all relatively interesting. Chilai and Lemo, the two Frieza soldier characters that are kind of like, I guess in a way, sort of guiding the plot. They're pretty endearing. They're fun. They're like, you know, kind of roguish. Like, well, we work for the bad guys, but like we got our reasons, and they make sense in the context of everything. And they're like, but they're still likable in that kind of sense. Yeah, they were fun. Frieza's other new henchmen were like, they were okay. You know, I feel like, yeah, they were all right. I mean, like the Kikono, who's the little shrimpy yellow dude, was like, funnily enough, he was kind of like a Bobbity-esque sort of character in terms of his personality, and that like kind of sniveling, conniving sort of character. I guess if this is one minor spoiler, Berry Blue, the other one, the little old woman one, she has like 4 lines of dialogue in the whole movie. She's just kind of like, and I'm here to, like, you almost could have just like made like a new henchman character for Frieza, and that could have just been like the one by itself. Although the Veronica Taylor cameo was cool, so shout out to her. But and also to Erica Lindbeck, who's the voice of Chilai. She did a great job on that. God, who else? Yeah, there were some new like Saiyan characters, like a couple little minor ones that were mixed into the beginning. They were all fine. Yeah, most of the returning characters, I would say, they all got some good screen time, and like the ones that had like less emphasis on them, like they still were utilized pretty well. You know, unfortunately, Gohan, yeah, he was nowhere to be found, but like Piccolo and Beerus and Whis and all them, like they all had like, you know, moments and like, you know, good usage in the film. But of course, you know, Goku, Vegeta, and Broly are, you know, front and center. They are the focus of this film, the 3 of them, and kind of the origins of what their whole deal is, and like everything kind of coming full circle with where they came from and what they're doing now and what they're looking to do in the future, etc. So a lot of that, and you know, so I guess I'll just get to this now. And again, I'll try to keep this vague. The biggest surprise to me was, and this is what I was hoping for, and I was still skeptical because of the fact that the fact that this movie was in some small part, as they admitted, some of the staff at Toei, you know, because of Broly's international popularity, you know, which is a big part of is the American fandom. And I find that the American fandom who likes Broly, and I know this is going to maybe sound a little elitist, and I'm sorry if it does, the American fans that I think tend to like Broly seem to kind of like DBZ, and I guess that kind of more superficial way, at least in what I've kind of observed. Zach Frost, if you're listening to this, I love you nonetheless, even if you love Broly. Sorry to out you. But you know, because but the majority of people are like, yeah, he's kind of this, you know, or at least as I often describe, he's like a person who walks in on someone else watching the like just screaming and yelling and power-ups and big buff idiots, you know, and just fights that last for 20 years of episodes worth, and they see like, oh, this is how stupid Dragon Ball is. Like he epitomizes that. He's that like negative stereotype of Dragon Ball as a whole embodied into a character. So you know, going into this, I was hoping he would be an interesting character, and you know, with this kind of new version that Toriyama was involved with developing, and again, even because after some of the, in my opinion, some ball drops and the on the plot, the plot points and character beats seen in the last couple arcs of Super, I was like, okay, well, Toriyama, as much as I love him, he has let me down with some of the things that he's been involved with in the new material. But I was very open, and I was interested, and I was not let down. In fact, I was not only pleasantly surprised, I actually found this version of Broly to be pretty sympathetic. Like he worked as an interesting focus of the film, or not even, I guess not like a full focus, but like a big focal point in terms of like, he and some of the characters that he's surrounded with are like, again, they're kind of like guiding what's happening in the film in the first place, and Goku and all the familiar faces are just sort of along for the ride, and then they clash into it, kind of like the way that like the Mewtwo movie was with Pokemon as well, actually. Not like in terms of character, but I would say like comparatively the amount of focus, and also how like in Mewtwo Strikes Back, which by the way I guess apparently is getting like a CG remake as the next new Pokemon movie. Shrug, but nonetheless, in the sense of like it's kind of focused a bit around this new character for the movie. Broly's not a new character, but you get what I mean. And then like the characters that from the series kind of are into that character's world in a sense, and those worlds collide, and then crazy shit happens as a result. And for that same kind of reason, it was actually, yeah, there's a lot of things about this that remind me a bit of the kind of format of Mewtwo Strikes Back. Like it has, interestingly enough, a lot of the same sort of beats with how it goes. Also, there's a character named Beats in the movie. I just wanted to point that out too. Anyway, and I would like to see it in Japanese as well. But I thus far have only seen it in English, and I'll be seeing it again next week. I guess the last sort of thing is Battle of Gods thus far has been the bar for me as far as a new favorite Dragon Ball movie. And Resurrection F I enjoyed, didn't quite top it. I really, really, really enjoy this movie, and I can't quite tell yet if this is either... I don't think it's better, but I'm still determining if it's on the same level as Battle of the Gods. It's very different. It is not the same kind of deal as Battle of Gods. It doesn't have the same kind of significance. It's executed very differently, but so far I feel it's equally as good. It's incredibly entertaining. It is worth checking out, certainly. So, it's enough of a taste of everything. I haven't spoiled everything, but it is worth seeing for yourself. And I really mean this. I'm not just saying this because they've made a big press thing out of it. Nobody's paying me to do this or whatever. I'm just doing it because I want to. If you can see it in IMAX, go see it in IMAX, because I think that this is a case where the spectacle of that works for how this is supposed to go. I would definitely say so. So that's about all I have to say. So thank you everybody for listening. I'm going to go check it out again this week with some friends. Big thanks to Funimation, all the folks there for letting me come join along for the journey. Shout out to all the friends that I got to see and some of the new people I got to meet while I was visiting Dallas, and all the many great folks. And shout out to the boys at Okatron. I don't think they'll hear this probably, but they all did a great job. I think they all of the engineers and folks there, I think, worked on the Broly movie at some points. And the dub was fantastic. All the performances were great. And this movie was a real treat. So to the rest of you guys listening, just real quick, in case you haven't heard, Combat Core, a video game that I voice directed for, created by Micah Betts, just came out, and that is on Nintendo Switch, and it features Zeto and Kizuna from the Terrain of Magical Expertise web series. Go check that out, please. And otherwise, next week, Y2K, a postmodern RPG where I voice Alex, the main character, by Easebird Games, created by the Axe Studios guys, will be coming out. Please pick that game up. It is incredibly special to me, and I believe that next weekend's Kirblog will be an interview with Andrew Allenson and some of the other staff members from Axe Studios. Please keep an eye out for that game. I'm incredibly proud of my work on it, and it's an awesome turn-based RPG. It'll be available for all major consoles, actually. Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. So go pick it up. Thank you for listening, everybody, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a great one. Bye, 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 bye.